Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Mehmet, and today we are diving into one of the most important concepts in computer science, big O notation. So, what's this big O notation? Big O notation is a mathematical concept to describe the efficiency of an algorithm in terms of time and space complexities. For example, time complexity refers to how the execution time of an algorithm changes as the size of the input grows. Big O notation is used to express this growth. Okay, this basically means mathematical adjective. Just as adjectives describe nouns, big O notation describes the characteristics of our algorithms. We can ask the following questions about our algorithm and learn their answers using big O notation. Like, is my code efficient enough? Or do I use RAM efficiently? For these reasons, we can think of big O notation as a compass that indicates the efficiency harbor. Well, is it really that important to sail towards the harbor of efficiency? Let's consider an application that contains algorithms that are long-running and inefficient. In such an application, it is inevitable that users will continuously complain and be unable to achieve what they desire. This means a poor user experience, and a poor user experience would be disastrous for both the company and its users. From the company's perspective, this situation could lead to a decrease in the number of users or increased support costs. On the other hand, from the user's perspective, it may reduce the trust in the brand, and this means that users may approach a new application released by the same company with bias. For these kinds of reasons, user experience is closely tied to efficient code, which is also very important to us. Well, we've been talking about efficient code from the outset. We stated that we would measure the code's efficiency with big O notation. Let's take a closer look at that. So, what does O of 1 mean? It means that regardless of the input size, the algorithm will always take the same amount of time to execute. We can exemplify this with an apple that falls to the ground. No matter how many apples we have, when we drop one of them at any time t, it will take the same amount of time to fall to the ground. In fact, there is no difference between the falling of apples and fetching a value at a specific index from an array. Regardless of the number of elements in the array, the time complexity of fetching any element by index is constant. Okay, this is our algorithm. It starts and we are asking whether the count of arguments impacts the function's runtime. If the answer is yes, we can simply call it O of 1. If not, we need to look at the other types of O notations. Let's consider a machine that turns the values it receives into their absolute values. This machine processes each element one by one, and it takes 1 second per element. This means 6 inputs will be processed in 6 seconds and n inputs will be processed in n seconds. And this brings us to O of n time complexity, as the execution time of our process is directly related to number of inputs. Let's take another example to explore different variations of big O notation. Assume our teacher is thinking of a number from 0 to 100, including both 0 and 100. With each guess, our teacher tells us whether the number to be guessed is larger or smaller than our guess. Thus, for every guess, we choose a number halfway through the remaining range to eliminate as many numbers as possible. As we continue, we can correctly guess the correct number out of 100 with just 5 attempts. This gives us a time complexity of O of log n, and this shows that our algorithm operates with good efficiency in terms of time. Caution: there are many different approaches we can use when guessing the number. For example, we could find the number the teacher is thinking of by trying all the numbers one by one. This is called brute force. As you might guess, this wouldn't be a very efficient way, and it would give us a time complexity of O of n. Here, caution again, because you might say that we didn't try all the numbers, so the time complexity should be O of n minus 23. However, big O notation always represents the worst case scenario. Therefore, in such a case, we assume that all remaining numbers have been tried and that we found the desired number lost. That's why the time complexity is O of n. So, the summary. So far we've talked about big O notation and some of the situations it represents. We learned that big O is something that describes the efficiency of algorithms. We understood that a poor user experience means fewer users and consequently lower revenue. And most importantly, always use a compass to find your way and reach your destination. That's all for today's session. Thanks for listening. See you in the next class.